Courtisans is the name of the game, but I don't think it means what they think it means. I think they meant courtiers, and as a matter of fact, although the rulebook is called Courtisans, then the characters in the game are indeed consistently called courtiers. So I preferred if it was called courtiers. The idea is still that you're gonna play cards to influence the politics of 6 families. They're identified by colors and the name of an animal. So we're gonna have the hare. We're gonna have the frog, and we're gonna have the queen. So what you're going to have is a mat that goes in the middle of the table representing the queen and these 6 families. The mat is made of cloth. The first time you play is gonna probably be super wrinkly. It is still a bit wrinkly, and after using it a couple of times, I'm sure you can iron it and it'll be fine. To play the game, you're gonna shuffle these 2 decks separately, and you're gonna give each player a card from each deck that represent individual secret objectives that will be revealed and scored at the end of the game. And then we have, again, the mat that I just showed you, and most importantly, the main deck of cards representing the various courtiers. I love these cards. The art is really nice. The format is also similar to tarot cards. The proportions are those of tarot cards, although smaller than traditional tarot cards. The colors are nice and vibrant. You have all of these nice accents. I know there's a technical term for the shiny parts of a card, and I don't know it, but I still like to see that. And then we have little icons that will indicate special effects on the cards, and that are also, again, very readable. So these cards are super functional and super pretty, because all the card does is to indicate a courtier of that family, plus, again, potential other effects. Gameplay simplicity itself. You shuffle this deck and a number of cards may be removed beforehand, depending on the number of players. So with fewer players, you're going to have fewer cards. And the game is very fast, even if you play with a large number of players. We play with 5 and the game was still very fast. Then each player receives a hand of 3 cards. And again, the game, as I told you, is simplicity itself, because during your turn you will play these 3 cards, and then you'll draw another hand of 3 cards. If I can play 3 cards, if I can draw 3 cards, you play those 3 cards, and you continue like this. Players will alternate, taking turns in which you will play your 3 cards. You continue to play until the entire deck is exhausted, at the point you score. And you see who the winner is. I said you play 3 cards. 1 you will play in front of yourself in your personal area. 1 you will play in another player's personal area. Suppose I decide to give them that. And 1 you will play at the queen's table. So you will place the card next to the corresponding icon for that family. For example, here we got the frog. However, when you play at the queen's table, you can choose to place it on top, which will contribute to the popularity and prestige of the family, or underneath that icon, which indeed is bad gossip and rumors, and it will make the family less popular, will reduce the prestige. At the end of the game, if a family has more cards on top, above their icon at the queen's table, the family is esteemed. If it has more cards at the bottom, the family is falling in disgrace. And there are game effects here that reference those, that terminology in the end of the game victory condition. Say, for example, that's the card I see at the beginning of the game. I want the stags to be fallen from grace, and so I will probably try to play cards here. Also, remember, 1 for me, 1 for the queen. Where are the stags? Of course, when you're looking for a stag, you can't find them. 1 for me, 1 for the queen, and 1 for my friends. Like so. The other effects, I'll talk about them later, but I also want to point out the general idea is this. At the end of the game, you will score and or lose points. You will score points for each condition on your victory cards that you have completed. Then, for each card that you have in front of you on a family that is esteemed, you will score a point. So, for example, if the frogs are esteemed and I have 2 frog cards, that is 2 points for me. But if I have 2 frog cards in front of me and they're in disgrace, now I lost 2 points. So positive points, negative points, 1 point per card in front of you. So maybe you see that somebody is hoarding a lot of cards, then you're really gonna start bad-mouthing that family, or, well, they're gonna do the same to you. So you both wanna have cards in certain families and influence those so that they give you positive points, not negative points. That is pretty much the general idea. So now that you know that, we can address some of the icons that you see here. The assassin, when you play the assassin can eliminate the cards in the same location. So if you place it at the queen's table, you can eliminate anybody sitting at the queen's table, doesn't matter where they're sitting. If you assign them to another player, they can eliminate a card in that player's display. If you assign them to yourself, you can eliminate cards from your own display. Very valuable to eliminate maybe some stinkers that are there. You think, oh, this family is not going to do well, so I'm gonna call a stack to eliminate a frog from my personal display, so it doesn't give me -1 at the end of the game. That's for the assassins. Some cards have shields, and all that means is that the assassins can't eliminate them. So if that's the situation, I can't get rid of that card, I better make sure that the red family is doing well, so that doesn't count against me at the end of the game. Some cards say ×2, and that's all it means. It counts as 2 cards. So right now, these are down by -4. Oh, that's gonna be bad again, unless we got some assassins to reduce the negative influence, if that is important to me. And then some cards have masks, they are spies. That means they're played face down, and once they're played face down, they stay face down until the end of the game. No one can look at them, including the player who played them. And yes, later in the game, I have this vague idea of the spies that I placed in my own area. You can also play spies, still face down, to the queen's table. They just go, well, next to the queen. See, I love that art. That is both really cool, with the spy like whispering to the queen, and also still being a good reminder of gameplay functions. So you play the card face down if it's a spy at the queen's table, and you still play it where it would help a family fall from grace or become esteemed. All that means is that the spies that are played at the queen's table stay there in the center of the display until the end of the game. At the end of the game, which is again when all cards have been played, all of the spies are revealed, and we place them in the set that they belong to. And the ones at the queen's table, we move to the space for their corresponding family without changing the side of the table that they are sitting at, like so. So this is the idea. This is how you play the game. Each turn, draw a hand of 3 cards, give 1 to yourself, face down if it's a spy, give 1 to another player, sit 1 at the queen's table, play spies face down, reveal them at the end of the game, assassinate cards if you so wish when you play an assassin card from the area where you played the card. Continue like this, and at the end you score points and lose points, check your final objectives, and the player with the highest score wins the game. I'm really impressed by this game. I'm impressed by everything in it, maybe other than the title. I wish it was called Courtiers. But gameplay is so impressive. It's so simple, so elegant, and yet it gives rise to very nuanced, very fun, very tense gameplay. Because ultimately, the general rule, you can teach it in a second or two. Play one card here, one card there, and another card in that location. That's it. But the tension that comes from that very simple rule, the variations in gameplay are just so nice. Because I never found that I had enough influence on the queen's table, never as much as I wanted. The fact that, can I play 3 cards there this time? So you're always prioritizing, you're always making decisions. And to me, the heart of good game design is interesting decisions. And you have a tough decision literally on your hands every turn, every time you play. Is there randomness? Yes, sure. But it's one of those cases where you have enough that it ends up being fair and overall equanimous. Because no one will be able to do everything that they want. No one will be able to support all the families that they want and get rid of all the negative cards that they don't want and influence things exactly the way they want. You will have sometimes, some bumps in the curve in that sense, because maybe your initial 2 objectives, they go well together and other people don't have that. But it's not going to be huge or the main or single factor. I found that everybody getting random cards every turn means that everybody has to deal with more or less a large number of small random checks. And so in the aggregate, then the decisions that you make still matter. Also, the diplomacy that you make, there is definitely a strong diplomatic element here. You're trying to convince and create a coalition like, hey, that family is doing well, but I like it to fall. Anybody is interested in doing that? If you help me with that, look, that player is probably gonna cash in a lot from that family. Can we do something about it? Can we assassinate a bunch of people there? You can create those coalitions, you can do the diplomacy, and then you can be not really truthful because of the spies. And that also creates a nice little elements there, a nice surprise at the end. Again, though, somebody's collecting a lot of cards in a certain family and they put all the spies in the middle of the table. You can assume that they want to bump up that family, but in truth, they may also doing other things. So you make your hypothesis, you make your coalitions, you discuss, you diplomatize. Is that the word? I don't know. You do diplomacy. There's a lot going on around such simple action of draw 3 cards, play them in 3 different locations. Interesting choices. Beautiful, stunning components. These cards, they look so nice. And I played this game with non-players, with casual players, non-players. We were visiting friends in Asheville, North Carolina. Beautiful region, by the way, if you're around there. Oh my gosh, amazing. And so, well, I brought some games with me, of course, but I brought games that weren't too long or complicated or heavy to transport. This one was perfect. Travels very light, it's simple to teach. It does take a little bit of space on the table, but other than that, again, you probably have a table big enough to play. We did have to transfer in the middle of a game because we didn't realize we were needing so much table space. But if that's the only problem you have that you encounter when you play a game, that's a very small problem to have. Generally speaking, this is a light game that I can see myself playing a game night with hardcore players. And yet you could also play it, as I did, with completely casual players, and everybody had a good time. There is enough going on, like I would say, enough randomness around you that hits everybody equally, that analysis paralysis is not that big of a deal. Every turn with your 3 cards, you want to have like a million choices to consider, which is, again, prevents analysis paralysis and makes the game flow well. But every time you will have one good, tough choice, and that's exactly what I want to have when I'm playing a game. Production values, again, excellent. So I'm very impressed. I'm very pleased with Courtisans. Highly recommended. This has to be one of the most elegant and satisfying games that I played in a while.